I'll tell you, it was making snakes is what it was. Have you ever worked in modeling clay? Well, you make snakes, you know. Everybody can make a snake. It's real easy. And I took the modeling clay and I pushed it down against the comic strip and looked at it, and I had a reverse image. The ink had come off on the modeling clay, and I put it onto a piece of white paper and it printed it. Now that's how I got interested in printmaking. The decision to teach art really came into my life by my wife. I had met her at the University of Texas, and she too was an art major. When I graduated and waited for her to graduate before we got married, then I worked in advertising art for 5 years. And she said, you know, you really ought to just go back, get a master's degree. We'll make it somehow, and go into teaching. She said, I think that's really where you belong. For me, as a teacher at Texas Tech, in many ways, it was the very best place for me to be. I was able to write the program for printmaking. And if you're going to be a teacher, I think you share everything you know and you lay it all out on the table. And even what you're trying, you know, because sometimes students do it better. You know, sometimes you think you're doing something a little different and you start talking about it with your students, and the next thing you know, they're trying it too and doing it better than you are. The shortcomings of the inks that we were using at that time were that they were all solvent-based, and so my students, I made them wear face masks and gloves and protect themselves. And as I said, we had a ventilation system that would suck a frail freshman right up to the ceiling, and it was hard to work in that gale of air. There were some good inks around, but I felt like I could come up with something better. And the owner of the Kreneck company came in and looked at what I was doing and said, you know, let's work together on this. So we worked together until we came up with a base that worked well with this particular ink that he was interested in using and that I was too. He called it Lintex, L-Y-N-T-E-X. It's named after me. By 1969, I'd made a grant application to the newly formed Texas Commission for the Arts and asked them for a grant to hold a show called Color Print USA to bring printmaking to Lubbock in major ways. And the very last day of it, this tall, beautiful woman came in and she looked around and she said, is any of this work for sale? And I went over to her and I put my arm around her and I said, dear, everything is for sale. It was Louise Underwood. That was a great moment when I met her. She bought a lot of stuff out of that show and helped make it a success. It wasn't that sales alone were what made it a success. It was just bringing that kind of art made by contemporary artists to Lubbock. On May the 10th, 1970, May 11 took the roof off of that shop and took all my prints with it. They say it's an ill wind that blows nobody some good. It certainly did me. She came back and bought the rest of the prints and had them framed. Somebody did say something about this award, you know, and I watched the Underwood Center keep growing and growing, and with Charles Adams Gallery on one side and all the studios for the professionals on the other side. You know, it's become more and more a focus of art in Lubbock, and the First Friday Art Trail, the hundreds of people who show up there. You know, if a place like that thinks maybe I've done something worth honoring, I'll take it. You know, I feel honored.